Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Confessions of a Gaming Mum. So the video today is going to be part 2 of my ideal Tomb Raider. Obviously last week I talked about what I would like to see actually within the Tomb Raider game in terms of gameplay and locations and stuff like that. So if you haven't watched that yet, go and check that out, and obviously write your comments below whether you agree or disagree with me or whatever. So this week it's actually going to be about Lara, because I actually think she deserves her own video, because she's like such an important part of so many people's lives, including mine. I mean, she's influenced so much in my life. I mean, I wouldn't have met my husband and my son wouldn't be here if it weren't for Lara, really. So yeah, so I definitely think she's sort of a force unto herself, so much so that she deserves her own video. Basically, if you haven't watched the last video, this is not sort of where it's kind of like where I would like to see Crystal going next, or where I'd like to see the next Tomb Raider games going next. But in a realistic world, it probably will not happen, because one, Crystal will still be making the games, and two, they hate the classics so much, and because everything I want back is from the classics, it's not going to happen because they hate them so much. So this is like my ideal version of everything. Just forget any realism. Like, I don't want to see comments like that will never happen, because I know it probably will never happen. But in my ideal world, this will be what will happen. So let's get started on what I would like to see with Lara. I think one of the biggest bugbears for me when it comes to Lara, I can remember playing Legend and I just had this massive chip on my shoulder ever since playing Legend, and that was her bio, where they changed her bio to be from being this girl that had been brought up in an aristocratic British family and just being so suffocated by it, and sort of growing up to be quite independent and everything, but still within the confines of aristocracy, and then being involved in this massive, like, life-threatening event, like being involved in this massive plane crash, having to rely on her wits to survive and everything. And then she goes back into this society, like back into this aristocratic family, and she's like, you know what, this isn't for me. So she goes back into this adrenaline-inducing, thrill-seeking lifestyle that her parents don't agree with, and they actually disown her, like, because of it. And she's fine with that, and she's just like, yeah, whatever, I don't care, I don't want to be part of that anymore. And she just walks away from it, and she just does her own thing. What she does and who she is nothing to do with her family. She has got everywhere on her own, and I miss that so much about with the new Lara, and like, well, basically since Crystal took over, because it's always been about her family. It was always following in the footsteps of her dad, either to find her mother or just to prove, like, clear her father's name, and it's been done millions of times, and it's so boring, and to me it's a step back in terms of feminism in like gaming and stuff. Like, why have we gone from this woman who was absolutely kick-ass because she wanted to be kick-ass, even if it meant walking away from her family, to being someone who's obsessed with following in her father's footsteps? How is that progression in feminism? Seriously, I just don't like. You can see how passionate I am about this subject. It just really pisses me off that we've gone from, like I said, this kick-ass woman who just did things because she wanted to do them, to doing things because it's her legacy from her father. It's bullshit. It's absolutely bullshit. And it's just, like I said, Shadow kind of tried to move away from it, but again, it's because they're just so stuck in that it was a trilogy that they just had to continue, and they had to finish it off. So I'm really hoping, obviously this is me being realistic, I'm really hoping in the future Tomb Raider games that they will just stop with the family shit. They will just move on to her just doing things because she wants to do them, not because her father tried to do it and she just wants to clear her father's name again. It just really bugs me. So yeah, so I really hope that with the new Tomb Raiders that's it, like, her family is done and dusted now, and they can just move on with it and just never mention her family again. Just done. But yeah, in an ideal world, I would just move back to being her original bio, in terms of she did these things because she wanted to do them. Her family disowned her years ago. She's built herself up from the things that she's done. She's made all this money from her travel books, not from finding all these amazing treasures that, that she just happens to come across. That is my ideal basis for Lara, is just being, she is where she is because she wanted to be there, not because destiny and her family's legacy led her to be there. And also leading on from that as well, with like the old games, literally her bio was in the game manual. That's the only way you would know about her family history, is because it was in the game manual. So if you didn't read that, then you wouldn't know anything about her family history unless you talk to other Tomb Raider fans or whatever. But that's the only way you would know about her family history, because it just did not matter to her as a person. And it's like, in the last 6 games, it's all been about her family. It's like in every cutscene since Legend, pretty much, it's always been mentioning her father or her mother. And it's like I said, it's just every single time I'm just like, oh, just get over it already. Yeah, your family is dead, just get over it. But no, it's just like I get it. Like if your family had died in these sort of situations, you would be determined to avenge them or whatever, or to right wrongs that were done to them. But that's not Lara. Lara wouldn't be in that situation in the first place because Lara had been disowned by her family. So why would her family history be, or why would she be talking about her family in cutscenes or in the game when they disowned her? She'd be like, well, fuck you then, I'm just doing my own thing. I don't need to ever like think of you or mention you ever again. So yeah, sod off. Even though I'd like to change the bio, it would still be the whole thing of like, unless you were to do some it doesn't need to be in your face, her bio. It just needs to be there for the avid fans that are like, oh, I'd like to know more about this character and what her motivations are and stuff. And it's just, yeah, I just hate the fact that they make the game so much about Lara's past and her as a person. It doesn't need to be. It needs to be about the adventure, not Lara as a person. And that is what I would like to see in future Tomb Raider games. But like I said, I don't really see that happening anymore, because it just seems to be completely obsessed with Lara as a character. Another thing I would like to see is, and I mean this would depend in terms of who, or if like a Tomb Raider game was to be made, how old Lara would be. Because for me, the ideal voice for Lara was always Shelley Blonde. Absolutely loved Shelley. I grew up with her being the voice of Lara, even though she was only in the first game. To me, she was Lara. That was the voice for me. I mean, I did like Judy Gibbons' voice, but again, because it was quite a drastic change. So obviously I went for like a whole year obsessed with the Lara that was in the first Tomb Raider, and then we went to this one and she sounded completely different. So I was a bit like, oh, and she sounded very mature, I think, and rather than the younger Lara that was in Tomb Raider 1. So yeah, but I also loved Janelle Elliott in Angel of Darkness, or basically from Last Revelation to Angel of Darkness. I thought, again, she was quite close to Shelley Blonde's voice, so, and to me that just encapsulated Lara in terms of like she still had that youth about her, but she was still quite feminine. It was just a nice comforting voice for me to hear, because it was like, unlike mine, because I've got quite a low voice, so it was nice to have more of a feminine voice. It was just nice to hear. Keeley Hawes, I love Keeley Hawes. I think she's an amazing actress. I absolutely love her. But to me, she just wasn't Lara. I think she was a bit too old to play her, and I mean, she had the right poshness for Lara, which I think maybe was a bit missed with Shelley and Janelle. But again, I just think with Keeley, I just think she sounded just a bit too old for the character, especially when she was playing like a young Lara in like the flashbacks in Legend, and then when she played Lara in Anniversary, it just didn't fit for me. Won't even go into Camilla Luddington, even though I think she's great. I've met her now, and she is a really, really lovely person, but she's just not Lara to me. I mean, she's got the youth in her voice, like I said, but she's lost her Britishness. She's lived in America for so long, and she's tried to Americanize her British so much so she can play these American characters that she's actually lost her British accent. When you listen to it as a British person, well, this is what I find anyway, when you listen to her playing Lara, it's not right. It's really not right, and the language that she uses is Americanized, and yeah, I get that she's probably a well-travelled person, but you still have British slang because you're brought up British, and yeah, it's just yeah, she's just not right for me, I don't think. So she was great as Reboot Lara because she had to have all this emotion and stress and be crying all the time, and yeah, so she did that really well. But to have a stronger, more classic Lara, it just wouldn't fit Camilla, I don't think, at all. And again, like I said, I think we need an actual British actress to play it, rather than a British actress that's having to remember how to be British. I mean, I'd even like to see a young British actress being brought into it, but again, but following on, like I said, but something that's similar to Shelley Blond. I mean, again, another actress that I really liked, as another example, is Minnie Driver, when she did a little stint as Lara, I think in like an animated series. Like, I'd never heard it before, and then when someone, I think I'd watched Tarzan, because obviously she plays Jane in Tarzan, and I listened to it and I was like,
oh, I'm in a tree with a man who talks to monkeys. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, this is good. This is very good. Wait, is it on? Oh, okay, 1, 2. Oh, it can't get any worse, can it? Obviously it can.
I don't know if I can really see her as Lara that much, but then I actually, someone got me a clip of her as Lara, and it was absolutely, like, I thought she was absolutely brilliant.
A curiosity, nothing more. Thermopolis is hidden.
Was hidden. In exchange for your piece of the key, I'll take you there.
Not much of a night for a swim. Keep talking.
So that would be so cool to see her back, but then I don't know if her voice has changed so much, so I don't know if she would sound a bit too old. I'd have to like check out what she sounds like now to see if she'd actually be decent enough. But yeah, that's kind of like my idea. I think it would be nice to probably bring in sort of British voice actress, sort of new to the scene, new to the industry, and just give her a go, and then the character is hers, it's her own sort of thing. Because I think obviously with Camilla, she had her other engagements in terms of like, well, she did what, Californication, and now she's in, is it Grey's Anatomy? I don't know, because I don't follow the stuff that she does. But again, yeah, so it's not really her character. I mean, I'm not saying, because I mean, you do have that curse, don't you, in terms of with people being pigeonholed into those sort of roles. But then you've got like Nolan North, who played Nathan Drake. I mean, he is known mostly for Nathan Drake, but he has done so much more than that. And I mean, one of his other more famous ones is playing Deadpool in the game. But I just think it would be a great place for a young voice actress to start in the games industry, if that's what she wanted to get into. And I think, like I said, it wouldn't, for me, I would love for it to be a British actress, because she would get the slang, she would get the whole thing of growing up in British society and stuff like that. But if we could, ideally, I'd love to have Shelley Blond back, and I think a lot of classic fans would love to have Shelley back as doing the voice of Lara.
Thank you. I will.
Another thing that's so much contention about this subject, and that is on Lara's figure and how she looks. And for me, I think I've kind of fought back on this, because you see so many people that are just like, the old Lara was just a sex icon, and she was built like that because she was like the male fantasy and shit like that. And I was like, I was 11 at the time when I first started playing this, and I do remember, I have to admit, my first memory when I picked up my friend's copy of Tomb Raider 1 was, wow, those are big boobs. Like I said, I was 11 at the time. But once I got past that sort of millisecond thought of, oh, big boobs, with big boobs, I was like, she is absolutely stunning. I just like loved her, just her look, her face. I just thought she was absolutely gorgeous. And I related to her because she had brown hair and brown eyes like me. Like I said, at the time when I was 11, I was doing gymnastics at school, so seeing like this woman just backflipping about everywhere and stuff like that, and like doing handstands and things, I was just like, wow, I can see this person being me. If only. Like looking back here, it was like I never really saw any of the marketing side of it. I just played the games. I mean, I did pick up the magazines that they were in, because every time I saw Lara on the front of a magazine, I begged my mum to buy it for me. But I didn't really see that. All I saw was a woman looking sexy and owning it. I didn't see like this woman that's like, please give me attention, please love me, please see that I'm sexy, please have sex with me. I didn't see anything like that. I mean, like I said, I was really young, naive at the time. But yeah, I just saw this woman being like, oh, you like the way I look, oh, here's a, you can have a sneaky look but you can't touch sort of thing. And she was just really, really owning it. And if you tried to touch her, she'd just shoot you in the face. No means no at the end of the day. So yeah, for me, I loved that sexiness about her. Like I said, she just owned it. It was just another part of her that just made her amazing, because she could be this sexy woman that just has so much intelligence, like a really fierce intelligence, and the independence and just being able to look out for herself and defend herself and just like fight as good as any man, not because she was a woman, just because she could fight like that, because that's what she trained to do, and she was just a kick-ass person. And yeah, and that's what I miss. It again, for me, like I said at the beginning of the video, I feel like the new Lara is a step down from that. It's like we're taking a step back, because oh no, you can't have her with big boobs and a tiny waist and a big bum, because that's just, can't do that. You can't have her be sexy. No, that's bad. Sexy's bad when it comes to women. I think it might be worth you watching a lot of Melanie Mack's videos about Lara's sexiness, because I think she explains it better than I do. But yeah, the point still stands about, like, they've taken away her sexiness because they feel that she can't be sexy in order to be taken seriously, and that's just absolute bullshit. I'm gonna keep using that word, it's bullshit. They're just trying to it's like they're trying to make her as plain and as girl next door as possible. I mean, you'll have a lot of people argue about the fact that it makes her relatable. It's like, well, why can't a sexy, intelligent woman be relatable? I mean, does she even need to be relatable? Like I said, for me, I aspired to be like her, not to be, like I said, with big boobs, big ass, and small waist and shit like that. I aspired to be as strong as she was, as independent as she was, and to learn and to travel as much as she did. And I never got that far, but I took my archaeology degree because she inspired me to do that, and I travel and see as much as I can because she inspired me to do that. I wanted to see the world. So, and to me, she is the one that inspired me to be, not to say be a feminist, because I think all women should be feminists in that sense. I think just to me, she showed me that just because you're a woman, you don't have to be stupid, you don't have to be like a blonde bimbo to be accepted. You do what you want and that's fine. Like I said, she was meant to be like a lady of the manor and marry into some other rich aristocratic family, but she didn't. She's gone off on her own and is doing her own thing. And then that's another thing when you talk about like the sexiness of Lara. People always bring up like her relationships and stuff, and like, should she be gay, should she be straight, should she be this, blah 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 blah. And to me, again, it's probably because of my youth when I first started playing it, I mean, obviously I didn't even think, like, it never even crossed my mind until recently when it actually became a subject in my life anyway, or in like social circles, with her sexuality. And I always saw her basically as asexual. She didn't need a relationship, she didn't need to be with anyone to be happy. She was happy on her own, and to me that's fine. And so when you get like this thing of like everyone obsessing over the new Lara being gay with her friend Sam, it's like, yeah, that'd be fine, but that's not Lara to me. Like I said, Lara to me, relationships just didn't come into it. She was too busy travelling the world and like shooting mummies, things like that, to really care about being in a relationship. I mean, how could you really hold a relationship together when you're travelling the world and raiding tombs and stuff like that? I mean, it was hard enough for Nathan Drake if you played the games, and like him with his wife Elena. I mean, how many problems they had. It's just, why get into that sort of stuff? You might as well just go off on your own and do that stuff. It's more fun that way. You don't have to have the complication of relationships then. So but yeah, to me it was always just her being like, yeah, she was just always eye-catching, really striking. You could always point her out and be like, that's Lara, because of the way she looked. She was just absolutely stunning. And I think you couldn't really show it, well, they couldn't really show it in the old games as well, in terms of her physique, other than, like I said, big boobs, big bum and a small waist. But I mean, they wouldn't even need to have that. Like, I'm not like, because obviously, like I'm saying, I'm trying to say what my ideal Lara would be. We don't even need to go back to that, because obviously that was just for the graphics at the time and the technology at the time, what they could do to show her as a woman, like, rather than being this little just cylindrical block that's just running around these tombs. They gave her emphasized features so you can tell that she's a woman. And like these days, obviously you don't have to worry about that. So, but again, it's not that whole thing of like big boobs and big bum are bad. It's not. That was the character at the time. But it wouldn't be nice to see her with more realistic figure, in terms of like, not like this tiny cinched in waist sort of thing with big boobs. It's just not, I don't think I've ever seen a woman walk around like that unless she's had a boob job. So, and I don't think Lara would be the type of person to have a boob job. But yeah, I mean, ideally for me, I would love to see classic Lara brought into the real world. I mean, that's what everyone talks about, like, oh, the new Lara is more realistic with the graphics and everything. But like I said, there's nothing special about her. She's just a girl next door, and I want my Lara to be able to stand out and be recognised in the crown sort of thing. There is one person who, like, because there's so many classic fans. I think that's something that I absolutely love about this community, is there's just so many classic fans out there that have that creativity and that skill to be able to recreate and bring classic Lara into the modern world, whether it be with like Nick Abbas and his Tomb Raider 2 remake, which, like, if you haven't played the demo, you really should. It's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, just creating renders or artwork of just bringing her into sort of like the modern day art, and people have done so well with it, and they really know how to capture classic Lara. And I'll put some pictures of examples of like my favourite renders. There's one in particular, I can't think of his name right now, and I'm really sorry, but what I'll do, I'll post his Twitter and like his social media handles, pretty sure it's a guy, in the description below so you can see, but I'll post like picture here of, I just remember seeing it and just instantly falling in love with it, and be like, and I was just like, that is Lara for me, that's what she should be now. And it was, like I said, it was an encapsulation of classic Lara brought into modern real world, and like the like as modern graphics as you can get, really. And that's the thing, it's just, I never really like the models that they used of Lara in the original, like in Legend and Anniversary and Underworld. It was just a bit too cartoony for me. I mean, they were closer to the Lara that we knew in the classics than the reboot, but yeah, she was just too cartoony, which is why I appreciated more the reboot Lara. But again, like I said, she was just too plain to me. There's nothing that really stands out about her. I mean, the original artwork that came out, you'll see soon, because I'm super excited, changing the subject. I'm super excited because I've had this massive piece of artwork that was signed by the original creators of the reboot game. Massive piece of art of one of my favourite works of art by Brian Horton, the original, I think he was like the creative director or whatever, but no, he was the artist that did the original artwork for the reboot. And my dad has finally made me a frame that is big enough and strong enough to hold her, and he's gonna put her on our wall tomorrow. So I'm hoping I can get a video of it, and just I'm just super excited, because we've had her for probably nearly 8 years now, and she's always just been leaning up against a wall or whatever, and at the moment she's behind a bit of perspex, so it's, my son can't like touch her or whatever, so you can't really see her in detail, otherwise I'd show you guys. But yeah, I'm so excited to finally have her on a wall, and I can, like, it'll be, I'll walk out of my bedroom door every morning and she'll be there on the wall, and it's just, oh, I'm so excited. She's finally getting propped up and framed like she deserves, rather than being balanced against the wall for ages. But anyway, like, going back to the subject, yeah, like I said, I think the original artwork they did for the new Lara, she did look quite stunning, but she's eventually changed to be quite plain, I think. And these classic Lara renders, that like modern classic Lara renders, are, she's absolutely stunning. She's gritty, you can see the attitude, like the attitude is just like, she sweats it. It's just like she's got cuts on her face and grazes, and it's just like, it's how I imagine Lara to be. And I think I went off on a tangent when I was actually talking about her figure in terms of like her musculature, because they weren't able to show it in like the technology when classic Lara was around. She has that lifestyle that if she's not raiding tombs and like climbing mountains and scaling walls and like stuff like that, that she'd be home training for that stuff. So you would know she would be muscular, she would have that not bodybuilder so to speak, but she would have a really athletic figure, so she would have like rock solid thighs and just like beefy arms and stuff. Well, not massively beefy, but you get what I mean. There would be I hate the word tone, because I think a lot of people that are into their exercise hate the word tone, but she would be very toned. She would have that sort of I can't think of the word, she would have that shape, so to speak. I would love to see that brought in. I'd love to see like muscular arms, like big thick meaty legs that are just like, you can see the like the muscles popping out and stuff. I would just love to see that brought to life. And I think leading on from that, naturally leading on from that, it would be about her outfits, because obviously you wouldn't see Lara's figure, so to speak, if it weren't for her outfits. And I do love the original outfit that Lara wore for the reboot. I thought it was practical in terms of what she was doing, like with the combats, the boots and the vest top and everything. That to me was fine, because to me it was practical, when I think the classic Lara's outfits sometimes weren't very practical, in terms of like in Tomb Raider 2 in Tibet, when the only form of thing she had, like protection she had against the cold, was just that bomber jacket. So still in her shorts, but and to me, yeah, again, that just wasn't practical. I think with Tomb Raider 3 they got more towards the sort of things she'd wear, but and again, like when she went to the South Pacific Islands in Tomb Raider 3, she's in like I don't think she'd be in sort of like a mini sort of tank top showing off like all her abs and stuff, but I can imagine her being in her shorts, I can imagine her having her boots and stuff, and maybe like a vest top or whatever. But I can imagine there'd be a lot of like mosquitoes and just things that could bite you, and I don't think she'd want to be showing off as much flesh. I can imagine she'd want to, like I said, shorts to be able to control like the heat if she's running around escaping from cannibals and stuff. But yeah, wearing a tiny little vest top that just about covers her boobs, I think may have been a bit, like I said, impractical. So that's the sort of thing I'd like to see in terms of, I mean, the original outfit for Lara, again, that would be practical in certain aspects, but like when she was going to like up in the mountains in Peru in the first game, and her being like I said, in this short vest top and shorts, or even leotard. I don't even know what people's interpretation of what she actually wore top-wise is for that game, because I think I've seen so many different versions of what she actually wears. But yeah, it wouldn't be very practical, I don't think, for being in like a snow-covered mountain top, or like in a tomb that no one's been in for like 3,000 years or whatever. Yeah, I think she would be quite cold. So I think she would be in something a bit more than that. But I would like to see like classic Lara outfit brought back for places like Africa or like the Middle East, or even like she was travelling around Australia and things like that. It's just like anywhere that has heat where you'd want to keep as cool as possible when you're running through the jungle or the desert or whatever. Wearing something like that would be fine. But when it's like I said, snow-covered mountains and stuff, that's when it's a bit like, yeah, I don't think you'd really be wearing that. I think I'd be quite chilly. So so I'd like to see like maybe a meeting in the middle of what they've done with the reboot and classics, but because again, like going back to the reboot, like some of the outfits are fine, but then there's others that are just like, well, why would she be wearing that? It's just silly, like the bonus outfits you get, and it just completely just hides her figure, and I'm just like I said, you don't need, it shouldn't be about having to see her figure all the time. It should just be that when the situation calls for it, she will be like, she could take off a jacket, so she's just in like a vest top and things, but she's still got her combats on. Or like yeah, again, she goes somewhere super hot and she can just like, she's got her shorts on and things like that. So I'd like to see a happy medium with it. Like I said, I'm not that desperate to go back to her just being in shorts and vest top just to go back to being classic. I'd like to see her in practical stuff and stuff where it's, again, not where it's just like emphasising her figure just for the sake of emphasising her figure. It's just stupid. But it needs to be stuff that like a regular woman would wear if she was going to these sort of places. What would you wear? You wouldn't be thinking about, oh, my bum looks really big in this, therefore I'm going to wear that. Oh, this really helps show off my cleavage, I'm going to wear this sort of thing. She's not that sort of person. I'm pretty sure she's quite practical in that sort of stuff. I don't think she really cares about what the wolves think about what her ass looks like in a pair of shorts. So so yeah, so that's another thing for me, just practical. But I would like to see the classic stuff return where it's called for, so to speak. Yeah, and I don't think she's the sort of person that would worry about what she looks like and stuff, so I don't really think she would, one, either be flaunting it or to the point where she's completely covering it up because she doesn't want people looking her that way, because it wouldn't even cross her mind, so to speak. And another natural progression, I think, is talking about Lara's hairstyle. This would be an interesting subject to see what people think about this. Yeah, it's just, some people would like her hair short, some people would like her with no hair at all, like completely shaved. Some people would like her as she has it in the Crystal games, where she has a ponytail, and obviously you have people that would like her to have a braid. I know a lot of people that are in the pro braid brigade. Again, I don't think it's one that I'm that obsessed about or that caring about, in terms of, it would be cool to see her with a braid because obviously that's the classic look. But again, for me, Lara has always been about practicality, so but then would she really care if like her hair's out of place and then she has to redo her braid? I don't think she would. So to me, I think like how Angelina Jolie wears it in the first two, or at least in the first Tomb Raider film, where she has a French plait. I can still remember my mum doing my hair in a French plait after that film came out because I was just obsessed with it, and I just wanted to be as close to Lara as possible. Like I said, I was 16 at the time. I was weird because I could never do a French plait on myself. It's just impossible. So that would be a thing as well. I don't know if classic Lara would even be able to do a French plait. I can imagine her doing how she would do it in the games, in terms of just tying it, then like tying it back in a ponytail, then plaiting it, just to make sure it doesn't flick in her face when she's doing backflips while she's shooting a tiger or whatever. So yeah, I can imagine a French plait would be quite practical, like I said, like what Angelina Jolie wore, but it would be a bit of a faff to have to tie up. I mean, I did really like the plait or the braid that they had in the Anniversaries Lara. I thought that was really well done. And that's probably more what Lara would do. It's quite a simple one to be able to do. I'm not that fussed about the ponytail. I think it's more the time I get sort of finicky about whether she has a braid or a ponytail is when it comes to like I said, like the models and stuff that they bring out at the moment, and Crystal tried to fob us off with the fact that it's a classic model. It's like, we know it's not a classic model because she's got a ponytail rather than a braid. So that sort of thing bugs me. But when it comes to Lara actually within the games, moving on from this, to me, I'm not too fussed about the ponytail or the braid. That's probably like a really controversial thing, and I'm probably going to get loads of hate for it. But as long as she's got her hair tied back, I'm pretty sure that is all she'd really care about. So yeah, although like I said, I did really like the braid that she had in Anniversary, so that would be nice to see come back, rather than like the French plait, or like the one that she had in the games at the beginning was a bit weird. It kind of just looked like round bits of poo on the back of her head when you looked at her in the like the cutscenes and stuff. It just looked really weird. That's not what a plait looks like. But yeah, see, I'd like to be interested to see what you guys think on that subject. Okay, so still sticking to Lara in terms of her as a person, and this is kind of like going back to her bio, I guess, in terms of, I think I kind of talked about it a little when I was talking about her bio, in terms of her general attitude in the games and just in general, so to speak. From Legend onwards, she's just been too emotional, and it's always, like I said, it's just always been about her family. She wasn't doing what she was doing because she enjoyed it. She was doing it because it was basically like she felt obligated to do it, like, oh, if I have to, sort of thing, because like she felt that she had to because of her family. And again, I'm going back to the thing of just, I hate that about the bio that they've created for her, in terms of, yeah, it's just they've made her obligated to do these things because of family, not because she enjoys it. When with the old Lara, and I said this in my last video when I kept going on a tangent about Lara, like when Natla in the original game offers her a shit ton of money to find the Scion, and Lara basically gets up to walk out and just says, I'm sorry, I only play for sport. So she only does these things for fun. So someone offering her loads of money, she's just not interested. And like, because she has that attitude, I can make money myself, I don't need you to throw money at me to get something. If you need to throw money at me, then it loses its appeal. I do it for the fun of it, I do it for the sport, I do it for the adrenaline and stuff like that. And I miss that side of Lara. I think they kind of did it okay in like the movies with Angelina Jolie, although that did upset me with the whole thing with her when she was like, Daddy. No. And I do curse the film because I think that's probably where Crystal got their inspiration from, because obviously Hollywood. So yeah, that irks me that in the film they decided that it should be about her dad, but she still had that thing that you could tell she enjoyed it. So like in the beginning when she's doing the training with the robot and stuff, like that fight with the robot, she did it because she enjoyed it. And obviously you have that side of the fact that, yeah, she kind of did get into it because of her dad, but because she enjoys it, she's stuck with it. Otherwise I'm sure she would just be doing other things and like enjoying her money if she didn't enjoy it so much. And again with Alicia Vikander, I think you see that a lot in terms of obviously they changed the story a lot from the reboot in that her dad was still alive, but obviously he dies at the end. She has closure, and then at the end of the film you see a girl who's basically like, I actually enjoy this, I'm going to continue this, I've sorted out everything like with my father, like I said, she's had that closure, she can now move on with her life. But instead of enjoying her money and just doing whatever she likes, she's doing whatever she likes, which is going on adventures and like tomb raiding. And to me that's what I really liked about the new reboot movie, is like I said, they've closed it off with they've closed that chapter with her family. And I'm hoping with the new movie, although I've heard it's kind of based on Rise and Shadow, and I hate Rise, but we'll see what they do with it. But I think again with Angelina Jolie's Tomb Raider 2, they didn't have anything to, I haven't watched it in ages, so I don't know this, people will have to confirm it for me, but I don't think it's anything to do with her family as well. But it was very much based on her relationships with people. And again, it's just, I think Lara was a bit too emotional in that film, so I was a bit like, oh, here we go again. So I weren't exactly a fan of Tomb Raider 2 with Angelina. So yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with Alicia Vikander's sequel. But again, I'm digressing, I need to talk about the games. And yeah, you get a lot of people criticising like the old Lara, like where she got criticised for being an ice queen, and it's absolute bullshit. If you'd actually played the games, you know that she wasn't. The thing with classic Lara is that, like I said, I think storytelling at that time was just very, very different in terms of, it wasn't about the character, it was about what she was doing, not who she was as a person. So like I said, so you had her bio in the manual, and that was it, that's all you needed to know. So other than a few bits of dialogue and cutscenes and stuff, you wouldn't know anything else about her. And to me that was great, because it meant that you were able to put onto her the person that you thought she would be. I mean, I've heard so many different accounts of what people think classic Lara is, to the point that I've heard someone who loves her. They absolutely adore her and are obsessed with her. They see her as this like gun-wielding psychopath or like sociopath, and they love her for it. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't see her like that. Good for you for seeing her like that, but I just don't see her like that. And I think with the new Lara, they have filled her out so much that you can't put onto her anything like sort of that you want to. She's a full person already, and while that probably is great and fine to a lot of people, for me it's kind of that thing of like people would put onto the classic Lara what they wanted to see, because you were able to do that because you wouldn't have seen that side of her personality in the game, and it meant that people then, like, anyone could relate to her. With the new one, yeah, she's a girl next door and she's quite plain and stuff, but you have the specific personality of her, and you're going to have people that love her and people that hate her, and a lot of classic fans hate it for that reason, because they're like, that's not classic Lara. And like I said, a lot of people have a different opinions on what classic Lara is, because those questions weren't answered for you. You answered those questions yourself. And I think that's what's missing in terms of, and I think you see it a lot with games these days, they feel that they have to give you like these full characters, they have to give you like their whole life story, they have to give you their motivation, and you really don't need that. It's literally like, I'm just trying to think of games now where you have that sort of thing. I mean, like I said, even though I love like Last of Us, but that's a different, like in terms of like with the story and the characters and things, but that's in a very different line to, or completely different like ball pit to what, I say ball pit because I'm used to bloody ball pits with my child. It's, yeah, it's completely different to what Tomb Raider is. And like I said, for me, Tomb Raider, it was all about playing with this person that I could relate to, because I could put onto her what I saw her as. So I'm not going to turn around and say the attitude that I want with Lara. I mean, like, I do want her to be arse kicking like she was in the original games, but I don't want her to, like I said, have this full-on character that, like, a lot of classic fans will probably turn around and say, like, if I was to say this is classic Lara to me, a lot of people would turn around and say, well, I don't agree with that, that's not the Lara that I knew. So for me, I think it's just, I don't even know how you would do it, to be honest, to make it more realistic these days. But like I said, I think her bio needs to stick to just being in the background. Like I said, you don't need to mention her family, she doesn't need to mention her personal life and things like that, and that will probably go a long way to giving her that sort of blank slate that people can just put onto her what they want to put onto her. And I think that would really help in terms of people being able to relate to her without having a personality forced on them. I hope I'm making sense with that. It's just, it's what I've always believed with Lara when I've, like I said, being on the forums and like over the years and seeing so many different people talk about classic Lara, and pretty much every single person has their own idea on what classic Lara is, and not one of them is the same. And that's because, like I said, she weren't an ice queen, she wasn't emotionless. It was just you didn't know enough about her to be able to build a full picture of her, so you had to fill in those gaps yourself. And when you fill in those gaps, you're going to fill in those gaps with what you want it to be, which then makes Lara more agreeable to what you would like to see. And like I said, a lot of, like, I know there's a lot of people that were like, classic Lara was gay, classic Lara was straight, classic Lara was pansexual and things like that. But again to me, like I said, I saw her as asexual because I didn't see her as seeing relationships as being a part of the life that she was about. So putting that, like, or having that in the games, it's just not something I would even really think about. And I think that's what they've kind of done right with the new ones so far. And I got really annoyed when I thought they were going to give in to pressure and make it a part of the games with her having a relationship with Sam. Like, if fans want to believe that, then that's fine, but forcing that for like the rest of the fans to, not saying it's a bad thing for Lara to be gay, but making her gay and then the rest of the fans having to agree with that when they might have, like I said, they might have other ideas of what Lara is, to me, that would just be wrong. So like I said, that's why I like what they did with classic Lara in terms of you just didn't know, so it was up to you to make up your own mind about who she was and what she did, sort of thing. And again with like the like going back to the whole Ice Queen thing, it just really annoyed me that they actually came out with stuff like that, because this was actually the Crystal team at the time actually calling her an Ice Queen, and saying like it's to try and make the over emotional dramatic Lara that they've got now seem better, because she's not like this emotionless zombie that she was in the classics, which is absolutely not true. I get why they made her so dramatic in the original, like in the reboot, but it just got tiresome, and it really, I don't think it grated on a lot of people. It was just like, Lara, just get over yourself. I love Jonah in Shadow when he says to her, it's not all about you. To me, it was just, it became like just Lara was just so self-obsessed, and it was all about her goal and things she'd been through in her life and blah blah blah, and you have all of these thousands of people that are dying and like their families and shit like that, but she's like, no, this is about how I'm feeling, what I'm going through, my father, blah 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 blah, and it's like, oh, just shut up. Just get on with it, just do what you need to do, and then just go home and cry about daddy in bed or something. I don't care, just don't have time for it. So yeah, it's just, I just don't want to see that sort of emotion in the game, because that's not what Lara is. She was like, she can get angry, she could be happy, she can have emotion, but not to the point that she's crying whenever she shoots someone, or when she's like broke a nail or something. It just gets tedious after a time. So yeah, just get away from the emotion, that sort of side, and yeah, go back to I just would like to go back to a Lara where, like I said, like she could show emotions on occasion. So that's why, yeah, it just annoys me when they say about like classic Lara being an Ice Queen, because she wasn't, because she did show emotion. They just obviously never played the games to actually see that. I'm not saying that crying is like a weak or a wimpy thing to do, but she got angry, and she was determined to set things right, and she was determined to get revenge and things like that. And they don't talk about that side of the Lara from the classics. They just talk about like that she had no emotion at all, and that's just, again, I'm gonna use that word, bullshit. But yeah, I think I've talked enough about her attitudes and stuff. I think people get the point now about what I would like to see. I think now it would be time to move on to like how I'd like to see her move in the games and that sort of thing. So I think first of all we'll talk about like combat and her sort of her armory, like what she'd have, and you'd have to have the double pistols. Like dual pistols would have to come back. It's just stupid. That is the characterization of Lara, really, to have the dual pistols. I don't even know, like, I'm not going to list a load of guns because I don't know weaponry, and I'm just like I said, I'd just love to see her. I mean, if dual pistols are the only like guns that she had in a game, then that would be pretty cool. That would be quite challenging if you had that sort of thing. I liked the bow, but I don't know if it belongs in a Tomb Raider game, so to speak. I'm not sure. I could take it or leave it. I loved it in Last of Us because I use it for stealth all the time. But like, you never had it in Uncharted either, like, because I just don't think it would suit Uncharted. So yeah, I'm not sure if it would really suit if we went back to that sort of like the classic sort of Lara or classic Tomb Raider sort of style. I don't know if it would really fit in with that. What I would love to see though is hand-to-hand combat and just her really kicking ass. Like they had it in some of the original games. I'm trying to think of where they had it up to. I'm pretty sure they had it in 1, 2 and 3 at least. I can't remember if they did it in 4. No, I think they did it in Chronicles as well, where you actually had a few levels where she'd had her guns and her weapons taken away from her, so then it was all about you just sneaking around or like solving puzzles and trying to get them back, sort of thing. And that would be really good to see something like that come back in, because then it's a new challenge. But having her being able to do, like I said, hand-to-hand combat, so she doesn't have her guns, but it's not the only way that she can fight. So she can fight, she does karate, I don't know, like kickboxing, like how you saw her act in the films. Like the fact that in the Alicia Vikander film, her first kill was someone that she actually killed with her bare hands. She didn't use a gun to shoot them in the face, she killed them with her bare hands. And I'd love to see that sort of side brought into it, because that's the side of Lara that you see in the classic games, but I don't think they really have the technology to really make her character do that sort of stuff. So I would love to see something like that. And I said, you know, the technology's there because they've done it in Uncharted. Again, I keep referencing Uncharted, but it's the closest thing to reference for me. And yeah, and like you see it, like Chloe does it again. It's not just because in Uncharted it's Nathan Drake so he can punch people because he's a bloke. You have Chloe in Uncharted Lost Legacy who punches and kicks her way through enemies when she hasn't got a gun to hand or whatever. So I would love to see that side brought in as well, because it just really suits Lara down to the ground. I would love to see it. Really would love to just see her get down and dirty with like just like pulling hair, or just like punching, like elbowing someone in the face, and like just like round kicking someone or whatever. Just, I would love to see it. That would just epitomise like kick-ass Lara for me, because she'd literally be kicking ass rather than just shooting people in the face. It would be so good. Love it. I really hope, even realistically in future games, I would love to see them be able to do that in the new games. It would be so good. It would be brilliant. I'd love it. And it would, yeah, it would just like, that's where they could go into like more depth with her, sort of the fact that she's had like army combat or combat training, because I think they had that in the first Tomb Raider movie where she actually trained with like the military or whatever. So yeah, I'd love to see that sort of thing just really brought out, where she doesn't fight by the rules sort of thing. She's almost like brought up on the street sort of thing in terms of like her combat style. Like she could use like a knife, that could be like something that she has like in her side pocket, like a knife that she uses to obviously chop down leaves, and she's just like walking through a jungle, but then she can also like just stick someone with it when she's trying to be stealthy and she doesn't want to use her guns. That's the sort of thing I'd love to see. So I really hope they bring it back, but again, that would, in my ideal world, that would be what Lara would have in her arsenal as well, was just hand-to-hand combat. And I think the last thing would be is how Lara moves in the game, because again, I think like people like criticize the old controls, and I appreciate the fact that if you haven't played them, you will really struggle with the old controls. But it was just the grid system that they used at the time. I do appreciate how the reboot has Lara moving, but I do think it's a little restrictive sometimes. It's like they've made her too realistic, so she doesn't really jump as far as she probably could, and just things like that. It's just, I don't really know how to really explain it. I know there's one thing that I hate is the leveling up system that they have. So you level her up, so she's got all these strengths and she's got all these abilities in like the reboot, and then you play Rise. And well, I haven't played Rise, so yeah, but if you play Rise and then it's basically gone back to the beginning, you've restarted her leveling up exercise. It's like, why can't you start off the game from where it ended with the reboot sort of thing, like with the past game? Surely you can just look at the save from the last game and see where you got up to, and then just carry on from that, but have her be able to build up on different ones. Because again, you had that with the classics, in terms of with each game it was kind of, she had new moves that she could do, so it wasn't always the same. So and I'd like for her to be more acrobatic as well, like probably not like the backflipping sort of thing, but being more agile and having that sort of training. Like she's done gymnastics, so she's a bit more flexible and things like that. It'd be nice to see that agility put into the game that you saw in the classics, so to speak. But yeah, I can't really think of like how really to explain the controls for her, other than, like I said, I like how they do it now in terms of, it is a bit more realistic, and it fits in more with obviously current gaming and stuff. But I think it's just too realistic. Like I said, even though I'd like to see a realistic classic Lara, the gameplay itself doesn't have to be realistic. Like we were to get back to having, again, that was something I didn't mention in the last video and I should have done, and that's to have like more fantastical and more magical like myths and legends that she's chasing after, rather than it just being scientifically like something that you could probably prove with science and stuff like that. It needs to be we need fantastical stories and fantastical creatures in the games. Like I loved the boss, and that's another thing, bosses I'd love to see come back, like the abortion, like a mutant boss in Tomb Raider 1, and then the dragon in Tomb Raider 2, and then you've got the mutant in Tomb Raider 3, and it's just like all these different just crazy scary creatures that you would not see in real life. You can have that in a game, because it's a game, it doesn't have to be realistic. Like I said, it's nice to have Lara look realistic because you're playing Lara, and it's nice to be able to have a realistic character to be able to play when she's kind of meant to be a real character anyway, not like Bayonetta or someone like that. She's a real person, so it's nice to see her as realistic as possible, but maybe just, like I said, just have that little bit of an edge or unrealistic edge, so that she could jump further than a real person, probably because she can lift heavier things than probably she could, or like she could run for further than a normal person can, like just different things like that. It would just be really good, I think, to just see in the games. I don't know what people agree with me, if people agree with me on that, but that's something I would really like to see, because I just think it's, even though it's nice and realistic and it's fluid and easy to play now in terms of how she controls, I still think it's quite restrictive. Obviously in the older games you did have that restriction, like I said, because it was a grid-based system, so her turning circle wasn't exactly great, but like she could do like really good, like crazy jumps and just different things like that, and just it just felt like she had more interactivity with her environment, I think, in the older games, when in the new games it's kind of like, oh, I probably can't go there, I probably can't touch that, and things like that. So it would be nice to see her have more interaction with her environment. And I think I talked about this in the last one as well, where like you have these beautiful, stunning, enormous set pieces in the new games, and you just think that looks absolutely gorgeous, but they're just a set piece for a gunfight. There's nothing really that you can actually do in there, when in the original games you had like a giant sphinx, and you had to sort of get inside or get to the top of or climb around and things like that. So it was part of the puzzle that you were trying for you to get to the end of the level, and I really think they're missing a trick with that in the new ones. And obviously the whole thing is Lara being able to interact with that stuff, rather than just using it to hide behind when someone's shooting at her. I think I've pretty much covered everything. If there's anything you think I've forgotten, please let me know in like the comments, either on this video or my last video, because I know my last video's got a few comments as well of people just arguing about different things. But yeah, I'd be really interested to hear what people think about it. What I really would like to do, and I'm hoping I can do it, because I've not really got the reach that that I would like to have. I don't think I'll get a lot of feedback, but I'm hoping that I can release a load of polls on different aspects that I've talked about in the videos. So like with Lara's hair, like what would you rather see, braid, ponytail, whatever, and just to get fans feedback, so then I can eventually do a video and talk about the results, just to see what the general consensus actually says. Like, do we have it, is it 50-50 on one subject but 10-90 on another? So I would really like to be able to release these polls, get them shared as much as possible, so then as many people as possible can answer it, so then I get a realistic view of what Tomb Raider fans actually want, because I don't really think you get that when you see all the arguments that go on social media. It's always like the loudest that are heard the most, and a lot of the time that's not what everyone wants. So like it might just be, yeah, someone talking really loudly about the fact that Lara should have a ponytail sort of thing, so Crystal will see that sort of thing and think, well, that's what the fans want. It's like, no, that's not what the fans want. If you actually looked at it and let everyone else have their say, you'd actually see that they want a braid. I mean, this is just an example, but like I'm saying, that's why I'd love to get as many people taking part in these polls as possible. So if you're watching this video, please like my social media and then be able to share these polls as much as possible. I might depend on what I'm doing when this video is released. I'll either release them or post them straight after the video, around the same time as the video, or I'll leave it to the next day when I know I've got time to actually do it. I'll see, but you'll know when they're coming out because I'll post about it. But yeah, if you can, just share them as much as possible. Get all your Tomb Raider friends to take part, because I just love to get as wide, trying to think, a wider sample as possible of Tomb Raider fans, so I can literally just say, this is what the fans want. Whether or not it's what I want, or what other classic fans want, or what reboot fans want, I want to be able to get everyone together as much as possible and just put them out there. I just think it would be a really good way of doing it. So we'll see. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, leave a comment below if you agree or disagree with me, and also make sure you get your voice heard on the polls that I'm going to post later. If you did enjoy the video, then please leave a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, because it really helps me out. I'm trying desperately to get to 1,000 subscribers so I can start earning something, and it makes this this all worth it rather than me having to look for a job. So so please subscribe, share with your Tomb Raider friends again this video, just to get it out there and get people talking about it. You can also sign up to my Patreon as well if you'd like to donate some money, because every little helps. And yeah, it was lovely sharing my ideas with you guys, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye!